It began with a wedding, a celebration among the gods themselves. The immortal guests gathered on Mount Olympus, feasting in laughter and gold. But one goddess was not invited, Eris, the goddess of discord. Angered by the slight, she appeared uninvited, her eyes glinting with mischief, and threw a single golden apple onto the banquet table. Upon it were carved 3 fateful words, "For the fairest." Hera, the queen of the gods, claimed it. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, did too. And so did Aphrodite, goddess of love. Their quarrel shook the heavens. To decide who among them was truly the fairest, they turned to a mortal, Prince Paris of Troy. The 3 goddesses stood before him, each offering a bribe. Hera promised him kingdoms and power. Athena offered wisdom and victory in war. But Aphrodite, she promised him the love of the most beautiful woman on earth. Paris chose Aphrodite. That woman was Helen, queen of Sparta, wife of King Menelaus. With Aphrodite's help, Paris traveled to Sparta, and Helen fell under his spell. One night, they fled across the sea to Troy. When Menelaus awoke to find his wife gone, his heart burned with fury. He called upon his brother Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, and together they summoned all of Greece to arms. Thus began the greatest expedition the ancient world had ever seen, 1,000 ships sailing toward Troy, their sails white under the wrathful sky. For 9 long years, the Greeks laid siege to Troy. Battles raged by day, songs of death echoed by night. Among the Greeks fought mighty heroes, Achilles, the greatest warrior of all, whose rage was as legendary as his skill. His friend Patroclus, noble and loyal. Odysseus, cunning as the sea. And Ajax, the towering giant of battle. On the Trojan side stood Hector, prince of Troy, the pride of his city, the son of King Priam. He was brave, honorable, and beloved by his people. While Paris had brought ruin upon Troy, Hector fought to defend it with dignity. The gods themselves took sides. Hera and Athena favored the Greeks, while Aphrodite and Apollo stood by Troy. Zeus watched from above, torn between justice and fate. Every clash of spear and shield echoed both in heaven and on earth. One day, Achilles withdrew from battle after a quarrel with Agamemnon. Without him, the Greeks began to falter. In his absence, Patroclus took Achilles' armor and entered the fight to rally the men, but Hector struck him down, not knowing who he was. When Achilles learned of his friend's death, grief and fury consumed him. His rage shook the battlefield. He returned to war, unstoppable, his armor blazing like fire. He met Hector outside the gates of Troy. Their duel was fierce, and in the end, Hector fell. Achilles, blinded by vengeance, tied Hector's body to his chariot and dragged it around the city walls, a sight that broke the heart of every Trojan. King Priam, the old father of Hector, later crept into the Greek camp under cover of night. He knelt before Achilles, kissed his hands, the hands that had killed his son, and begged for Hector's body. Moved by the old man's courage and grief, Achilles wept, and returned the prince to him. For a brief moment, amid endless war, humanity returned. But destiny still waited. Achilles himself soon met his end, struck in the heel by an arrow fired by Paris, guided, they say, by Apollo's hand. The Greeks, weary and desperate, sought one last plan to end the war. It was Odysseus who devised it, a trick so clever it would live forever in legend. They built a giant wooden horse, hollow inside, and filled it with their bravest warriors. Then they burned their camp, set sail away from the shores, and left the horse as an offering to the gods. The Trojans, thinking the Greeks had fled, dragged the great horse into their city as a prize of victory. That night, while Troy celebrated, the hidden soldiers slipped out. They opened the city gates for the returning Greek fleet. And before dawn, Troy burned. Its towers crumbled, its streets ran red, and the cries of its people rose into the smoke. The war that began with a love story ended in ruin and fire. From the ashes, few escaped. Aeneas, the Trojan hero, fled with his family. Legends say his descendants would one day build Rome itself. Helen, the cause of it all, was said to have returned to Sparta, her beauty unchanged, her heart untouched by time. As for the gods, they turned their gaze elsewhere, leaving men to remember what happens when pride, love, and vengeance intertwine. The Trojan War became more than history. It became myth, a mirror of the human soul, where love can spark 1,000 ships, and arrogance can burn 1,000 lives. And so, as the last embers of Troy fade into the dawn, the story lingers, a timeless whisper across ages, reminding us that no matter how powerful, how wise, or how beautiful, none can escape the cost of desire, and the will of fate.